Every source of anxiety in your life, every relationship that keeps you up at night, every goal you're terrified to lose, every outcome you're gripping too hard, has one thing in common. And it's not stress, it's not fear, it's attachment. Once you see exactly how it works, the anxiety doesn't just shrink, it loses its grip entirely. In this video, I'll show you number one, the precise mechanism by which attachment generates anxiety and why willpower alone will never fix it. Number two, a three-question audit you can run right now to find exactly where attachment is secretly running your life. Number three, what non-attachment actually looks like in practice. Because it's not detachment, it's not caring less. And most people have it completely backwards. Let's get into it. A few years ago, I was talking to a guy named Marcus, successful by any measure, good marriage, business doing well, healthy. And he told me he hadn't slept a full night in 3 years. Every night, the same loop. What if the business slows down? What if she stops loving me? What if I lose all of this? I asked him one question. What would you be without those things? He went completely quiet. That silence told me everything. His peace wasn't actually his. It was rented from outcomes he couldn't control. That's the trap. And it's older than psychology has a name for it. Marcus isn't unusual. Most people walking around with chronic anxiety are not anxious because something bad is happening. They're anxious because something good might stop happening, or something they need might not arrive. That's a crucial distinction. The Vedic tradition has a word for this, asakti. It translates roughly as attachment, but the literal meaning is closer to that which clings. The image they used was a vine wrapping itself around a tree. The vine doesn't know the tree is temporary, it just grips. And when the tree falls, the vine falls with it. This is the mechanism. When your sense of safety or identity gets anchored to something external, your nervous system has to monitor that thing constantly. Is it still there? Is it still secure? Is it still mine? That monitoring never stops. It runs in the background of every conversation, every quiet moment, every night you can't sleep. Modern psychology calls this contingent self-worth. Your worth, your stability, your okayness becomes contingent on a condition you can't fully control. A relationship, a job title, a number in a bank account, a person's approval. And because how attachment causes anxiety works through this exact mechanism, the anxiety is mathematically guaranteed. You've built your peace on something that moves. Of course, it feels unstable. It is unstable. The Bhagavad Gita describes it this way. From attachment comes desire, from desire comes frustration, from frustration comes anger, and from anger comes the destruction of clear thinking. That's not poetry. That's a clinical description of how the anxious mind spirals. Willpower doesn't fix this. You can't white knuckle your way out of a structure problem. If the foundation of your peace is contingent on outcomes, telling yourself to just relax is like telling someone to stop being afraid of heights while you're actively dangling them off a cliff. The fear is rational given the structure. You have to change the structure. That's what we're going to do. Most people know they're anxious. Very few people know exactly what they're attached to. They have a vague sense that things feel uncertain, but they can't locate the specific anchor. This audit changes that. Three questions. You don't need a journal, you just need to sit with each one honestly. Question one, what outcome, if it disappeared tomorrow, would make you feel like you'd lost yourself? Not just sad, not just disappointed, but actually untethered, like you wouldn't know who you were anymore. That's your primary attachment point. For Marcus, it was the business. Not because he was greedy, but because he'd quietly built his entire identity on being the guy who made it work. The business wasn't something he had, it was something he was. Question two, where in your life do you find yourself constantly monitoring, checking, or managing a situation to keep it from changing? This is subtler. It might be checking your phone for a text back. It might be over explaining yourself in relationships to manage how someone sees you. It might be obsessively tracking metrics in your work. The monitoring behavior is always downstream of the attachment. You monitor what you're afraid to lose. This is exactly how attachment causes anxiety in slow motion. The anxiety doesn't always announce itself as fear. Sometimes it looks like hypervigilance. Sometimes it looks like control. Question 3. When something in that area goes wrong, even slightly, how long does it take you to recover your baseline? An hour, a day, a week. The recovery time is proportional to the attachment depth. Secure people can be disappointed without being destabilized. When a minor setback in one area can wreck your entire day, That's the signature of an identity that's over invested in that outcome. Run these three questions and you'll have a map, not of your anxiety, but of your attachment structure. That's the thing underneath the anxiety. And once you can see it clearly, you have something to actually work with. Here's what most people do at this point: they try to care less, they try to detach, to go cold, to stop wanting things. That's not the answer. In fact, it's the wrong direction entirely. There's a version of this teaching that gets passed around online that sounds like, stop caring about things and you'll be free. That's not non attachment, that's numbness. And it doesn't work because you can't think your way out of caring. The caring is human. The problem was never the caring. The Sanskrit word is vairagya. It's usually translated as non attachment or dispassion, but the more precise meaning is freedom from coloring. The image is of clear water. Clear water can hold any reflection without being changed by it. It reflects the storm, and then the storm passes, and the water is still clear. The water isn't indifferent to the storm. It fully receives it. It just doesn't become the storm. That's the actual practice. Full engagement, full presence, full love, without making your peace conditional on the outcome. Attachment theory in psychology, the modern version developed by John Bowlby and later expanded by researchers like Mary Ainsworth, makes a distinction that maps almost perfectly onto this. Secure attachment is the ability to be fully invested in a relationship while tolerating the uncertainty of its outcome. Anxious attachment is when that uncertainty becomes intolerable. So you start clinging, controlling, or monitoring to manage the fear. The anxiously attached person isn't more loving, they're more afraid. Vairagya is the ancient name for what therapists now call non contingent self worth. Your okayness doesn't depend on the outcome, which means you can go all in fully without the grip. Practically, this is what it looks like. You want the relationship to work, and you're not willing to compromise your integrity to keep it. You want the business to succeed, and you're not going to let its failure mean your failure as a person. You pursue the goal with everything you have, and you hold the outcome with an open hand. That's not passive. That's not giving up. That's actually the most courageous way to live, because you're no longer protecting yourself from loss by preemptively going numb. You're showing up fully, knowing it might not go the way you want, and doing it anyway. The Gita's phrase for this is Nishkama Karmu, action without attachment to the fruit of action. Do the work, do it well, do it with everything you have, and release your grip on what comes back, because how attachment causes anxiety is always through that grip, the white knuckled need for the outcome to arrive on your terms, on your timeline, to confirm that you're okay. When you loosen the grip, the anxiety doesn't disappear because life becomes safer. It disappears because you stop needing it to be. Marcus, the guy I mentioned at the start, did this work. Not perfectly, not overnight, but he found the specific place where his identity had fused with his business, and he started the slow process of separating the two. The business is still there, it's doing fine, but it's no longer the thing he is, it's something he does. And for the first time in 3 years, he sleeps. That last step, releasing your peace from the result, sounds simple, and it is simple, but simple is not the same as easy, especially when the attachment runs deep and you've been running the same pattern for years. If you've looked at the 3-question audit and you can see exactly where your attachment is, but you keep sliding back into the same anxiety loop no matter what you try, that's not a willpower problem, that's a structure problem. And it usually takes a real conversation to find the specific lever that moves it for you. I do free one-on-one consultations, 15 to 30 minutes, no pitch, completely personal. You tell me where you're stuck, I'll tell you what I see. And you'll walk away with a clear next step for your specific situation, whether we ever talk again or not. The link to book is in the description at dailymindreset.com/consultation. If you've been sitting with this kind of anxiety for a while and you're tired of managing it instead of actually changing it, that call is worth your time. Subscribe if you want more of this. We go deep on these ideas every week. What came up for you in the 3-question audit? Which area of your life showed the deepest attachment?